Hey, welcome to another fun-filled episode of It Resolves. My name is Kevin.
Back. That was Kevin. I am Will.
And welcome to the, Thursday show.
Yeah, Thursday
The
show.
Thursday show, the casual kitchen table.
Yeah, the fun, flexible, everyone loves these formats show.
We have a very cool episode for you today. A lot of stuff to talk
it's
about.
Packed.
Before we get into it.
Oh, excuse me. Go ahead.
I do want to give a little bit of a shout out.
Please do.
For those of you who do not know, we recently released an Instagram page, which we've been posting to relentlessly.
Yes, brand new.
And we actually partnered
new.
up with Allison Warfield. For those of you who do not know, her Twitter, her Instagram handle,
very good. Good job.
Is Puzzled Periwinkle. She's a fantastic Magic the Gathering Instagrammer. Go check her out.
Yeah.
She's helping us out as well. We really appreciate it. If you're listening to this, thank you. You're the best.
Appreciate it a lot.
Yes.
She's an awesome person who likes people, and if you're one of those, you should go follow her.
Absolutely. So, little shout out to her. We really appreciate the help, and we look forward to working with her in the future.
Agreed. Very much agreed.
But without further ado, we're going to start off with the card of the day.
One of my favorites.
Hopefully, we'll get a good one.
Well,
it's been a little hit or miss.
Of all the cards printed.
We'll see what we get. All right. 3, 2, 1.
And
Giant Ambush Beetle.
I love the name of this card.
It's 3, a red, and then a hybrid mana of black or green for a 4/3 creature insect.
Yep.
It has haste, and when it comes into play, you may have target creature block it this turn if able.
Okay. Well,
I kind of like it.
It's not bad. It's a little expensive at 5, but
Yeah.
thinking about what it does, as soon as it hits the board, I feel like you use this if you know, all right, I can remove their
mana dork or something.
Their whatever it is. And in an aggro deck, you absolutely should. So that kind of plays into something that aggro needs to think about, is getting rid of their engines, their manas, the elves, as they've been called.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not bad. A 4/3, a staggered body isn't I don't like playing with those cards as much because right off, what does it die to, Kevin?
Lightning Bolt.
All right, so it is a 4/3 with haste.
Yeah.
Removes a guy when it comes down, but its longevity is called into question. But
sure. I mean, I do think though, in especially a limited environment, this probably is great.
Oh, totally.
You do get to trade, or at least trade off, right? But probably just knock something else off the field.
Yep.
And you get a 4/3 body, which they do have to deal with.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a substantial amount of damage each turn. So
yeah,
I kind of like it.
I do too. I mean, you put it in an aggro deck and you kind of say, all right, you have to have an answer.
Yeah.
Or there's my guy.
Also, this is just the most well-named card.
Giant Ambush Beetle.
It describes perfectly what it does.
Yeah, it's so simple. it's just, it leaves nothing to the imagination.
I picture like everybody at R&D sitting around a table. And they're like, guys, we need a name for this giant 4/3 guy.
This was like the last card. Like, they forgot it.
Yeah, they forgot it. And they were like, crap,
oh, man,
guys.
There's this last one.
What is it? Well,
quick.
it's a beetle.
And it's really
ambushing
big.
things. And it's huge. All right, Giant Ambush Beetle. We got it.
I got it.
No, I like it. I'm pretty happy with that.
It's great.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So not a bad card of the day, actually.
No,
a good start to the show.
Like second best.
Yeah.
Behind Spark Trooper.
Spark Trooper.
That's right.
Yeah, that was pretty great too. So, what is our main topic for today?
Our main topic today, sir, are the Duel Decks.
Ooh.
We played a few games.
Yep.
A few games of these Duel Decks. Mind versus Might, is that correct?
It is. Cool. Very cool. For those of you who don't know, the Duel Decks are released, I don't know how often, but every so often.
Yeah.
And it comes with 2 decks that you can play with. You and a friend can get together. They're pre-constructed decks. They're meant to play well to each other's strengths and weaknesses. Yes. They're meant to be a very sort of balanced match, at least. And just come out with some good games. And overall, without giving too much away, I actually think they went pretty well.
I enjoyed it for the most part. Off the bat, the deck builder in me is like thinking of, well, I don't really need this in here.
Yeah,
we'll get to that in a
second.
second.
But
yeah, for what they are, if you're looking to introduce someone to Magic, or to just like, I don't know, you made a bet with someone, or I bet I can beat you with these duel, whatever it is. Like, I think they serve for just a fun few games or so.
Sure.
And you do get some fun cards in there that you can throw.
There's actually, I will say, in this specific Dual Deck sort of package, you do get a few pretty good value cards.
That's true.
Especially in the Mind side of the deck.
Yeah.
Things like Mind's Desire, which is a great Storm card. It's usually used in something like a Legacy Cube or something like that, but it is a great card. There's also Beacon of Tomorrow, which is worth a few bucks and is used in, I believe, Modern Taking Turns or something like that, where you just draw and take turns.
Couldn't say. Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. It's a great card. Overall, pretty fun.
It was fun. Yeah. So, Kevin, we said we had fun. How'd the games go? What were your initial thoughts?
My initial thought, I started off playing the Mind deck. We both got a chance to play both decks, which was something we wanted to do for sure in this. With the last intro decks to Amonkhet, we didn't get to do that.
Right.
So we want to take a little more time and get some experience with both of these decks. I did start off with the Mind deck, and I loved it. It's everything I love about Magic, which is Storm.
Yep.
So
Storm and drawing cards.
Yeah, Storm and drawing cards. It is blue-red, which is classic Storm colors, especially in something like Modern.
Wait. Is it?
It is it.
Hey. Some of those older players.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. You get a lot of cards like Grape Shot, Empty the Warrens, the classic Storm cards. Again, Mind's Desire. A very big all-star in this deck. You get to just play stuff, which is so cool. You do get some cool interactions, things like the Reach Through Miss combo where you can play all three of those and then get the Unspeakable out, which actually you were the one able to do that.
I was.
But it was really fun. Another sort of highlighted card, I would say, to give you some interaction with the opponent, who notably does play a lot of tokens, but also just very strong creatures. You get cards like Snap, to sort of throw those back. If they're tokens, they just die. If it's something with some counters on it or with some buffs on it, it just goes away and you have to replay it. It's a pretty cool card, or a pretty cool deck. I will say there were a few cards I didn't like.
Okay, talk about those.
Okay, so the first one, which isn't necessarily a card I don't like, but just not a card I would have picked for this deck, is Shivan Meteor. For those of you who do not know, it's 3 and 2 red. Deals 13 damage to target creature,
which is a little excessive.
You can also suspend it for 2 for 1 and 2 red, and you get 2 suspend counters on it. So in 2 turns, then you can shoot something down. It's just excessive.
Yeah,
right.
Like, I mean, it's a lot for 5 mana. You need removal if you're playing a deck like this.
Yeah,
but I'll say for 5 mana or 13 damage. I mean, you'll kill anything you want.
You will. I mean, it's a guaranteed kill, which is great.
Yeah.
But it just seems a little much in a deck like this where you're not really needing to shoot down anything that's a 13/13. Things on the other side as well we'll go into do get pretty big, which is great.
They can get out of hand, but it's kind of inconsistent.
Usually by that point you've probably lost the game anyway. To be honest. Another card that I just wasn't too impressed by, we didn't really get to see it too much, but the Sage Eye Avengers, which is 4 and 2 blue for a 4/5 with prowess. And when it attacks, you can return a target creature to its owner's hand if its power is less than the power of this card, which is fine.
Yeah.
But it's requiring you to sort of go in and attack, which until you're ready to win with this deck seems like really just not what you're trying to do, right? Like, it just doesn't fit the theme as well.
I like it more than you, but I know I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'll say with the prowess trigger, you can buff it up with your cantrips, your little 1 mana draw spells.
Sure.
Which help it a lot, and will bounce bigger tokens and bigger creatures in this deck, which I think is what you really want to do with this, is get rid of their tokens with Sage Eye Avengers. But you're right, like it
just doesn't seem to be like on theme.
Yeah,
that's really my gripe. It's not that it's a bad card. I don't think it's a terrible card in this deck specifically. Right. I just feel like it doesn't really. This is more about Storm.
It could have been something else.
And it could have been something else. It does obviously benefit very well from
another
Storm,
Mind's Desire,
but
perhaps. But
it's just not my favorite. Again, not saying it's bad. It's just not my favorite.
I understand.
On top of that, the last card that I wanted to talk about that just seems like a bit too much to invest in this deck is Firemind's Foresight. It's perfect for a deck like this. And what I mean by that is you can get the combo, the Reach Through Mist, Sift Through Sands, and the last one, Peer Through Depths.
Yes.
You can get all 3 of those with Firemind's Foresight, which is great. But then, it's sort of like this 2-step process where you have to Fire Minds, Foresight into all 3 of them.
Yeah.
And then play all 3 of them, and then finally get the Unspeakable. And it's just, it's a little much.
Yeah.
It's a little much to invest. I'm not saying you have to get those 3 cards specifically. You can get, different variants.
Right, but I think that's the value.
That's definitely the payoff. Yeah. I think that's why it's in here.
Okay.
You can get cards like Snap for 2 or something
that's
like
true.
that, which is definitely good.
Yeah,
but
Snap did work.
It did quite a lot of work. It just seems like a lot of an investment.
Yeah, I understand.
So again, probably not a bad card, and I think it's played in other, decks, things like Commander and things like that can really utilize a card like this.
Sure.
But it just didn't seem at its best here.
Right. Yeah, and I think its biggest weakness is just its cost. Yeah. It's not very efficient to get those 3 things.
It's 5, a blue, and a red, so it's 7. Which you do often get to. I think the games can get a little bit sort of back and forth, so you get a little bit
because they are
of
balanced pretty well.
They are very well balanced, I would say. But yeah, so not my favorite. But other than that, I would give it probably on the just fun and what I was hoping for scale. I'd give it probably an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I would agree.
It was a good deck, and for a dual deck especially, it was quite good.
Yes.
So I enjoyed it a lot.
So yeah, I'll move on to Might.
Yeah.
I played that more than the Mind. I did play the Mind a little bit just to get a feeling for it, and I like Mind much more than Might in these 2 decks. Reasons being, the Might did well when the other deck just kind of didn't, which is a little bit of a bummer, and that could have been totally circumstantial, but of the games we played, that was kind of its strength. I had an answer to a threat in the air, and that stabilized the board, and then I just put a fatty down and said go.
Yeah.
And at that point, the game was really weighted in my favor. And I just won by having fat guys on the board.
Yeah, you definitely outpowered the Mind deck, which is really what you're supposed to do, obviously.
Yes.
But
although, and since that is the goal of this deck, is to put fatties out, like 4 of them at a time, and say, do something about it.
Yeah.
The Mind deck does something about it.
It does.
It has Empty the Warrens and Young Pyromancer. So
you are able, and I didn't maybe elaborate on this as much as I should, with the Mind deck, I think you can really get some 1/1s out very quickly with stuff like Empty the Warrens or Young Pyromancer. You get a lot of value out of those instants and sorceries, and so you get blockers for days.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I think that the Mind deck answers Might much better in that it just gets all its little dudes.
Yeah.
It just goes wide, never swings with them, just chump blocks all the time. I think that if the Might deck had more sources for trample, or more things that gave things trample, it would be like far and beyond much better.
It's worth noting it did run Sylvan Might, which does give trample, and you get flashbacks, so it's sort of like 2 cards in one.
Right.
But it just didn't feel like quite enough, did it?
No, it really didn't. There's combat tricks for 1 that give things trample and just trample, and that would have been fine. Like the guys are big enough. I don't need 2 extra power.
Right.
It's nice, but I don't need it. That being said, though, I think it performs okay, decent. It can put up a fight. I just don't think it's got as many answers as mine does. Some cards I liked out of it, though, Rubble Belt Raiders. So it's a 3/3 for 4. Whenever it attacks, it puts a 1/1 counter on it for each other attacking creature you control, which is perfect for aggro.
It's awesome.
It's just solid. I got it to a 9/9, I think, before you bounced it to my hand.
Correct.
And with the Mind deck not having like flat removal for things,
right?
Other than the Meteor, than things that deal 3 damage.
Most of it is in the way of Snap and some recursion back into Snap and doing stuff.
It kind of just buys you time.
Yeah.
So I think Raiders plays a really, really good role as being the biggest threat, and it's probably going to be the biggest threat you put out. Another card I really liked was, I'm going to butcher this name. Please bear that in mind. Kamal Pitfighter. I don't know how else you'd pronounce it, so I'm going to go with that.
Looks fine to me.
Sweet. Gets the check plus from Ken. So it is a 6/1 for 6. It has haste and a tap ability that says the Pitfighter deals 3 damage to target creature or player. So
awesome card.
Yeah, lightning bolt on a stick.
Yeah.
That's also a 6/1 if you've got an open board. That's really fun. It's versatile.
It shoots down most things in the Mind deck.
Yeah.
Even the Spell Art Chimera, which tends to be one of the bigger threats, bigger playable threats, I would say, in the Mind deck. it buffs so much because of all the instants and sorceries, but
Very
because
true.
it only has 3 toughness, it dies immediately. I mean, you can play this. It has haste, so you can tap it immediately and just shoot it.
Which
and
is
it's gone.
sweet, yeah. And I mean, he is fragile, so you don't want to just throw him out there to,
Right.
To get killed by a 1/1.
He dies to an empty the Warrens token,
Exactly.
which is a problem.
Which there are many, many
There
of.
usually are many.
I think the first game we played, you got out like 12 in a turn or something
Yeah,
like that.
it was something kind of
It
ridiculous.
was excessive.
Yeah.
But pair that guy and even the Raiders with the next card, Lovisa Cold Eyes, which is kind of the avatar, you could say, of the deck.
Sure.
It is a 3/3 for 5. Says each creature that's a barbarian, a warrior, or a berserker gets +2/+2 and has haste. So that's sweet.
That's amazing. For
Haste
this deck.
haste makes this deck exceptional. It is careful to note though that this is just a human, not like a human warrior, human
Right.
whatever. So this will always be a 3/3, which there are plenty of answers for. So you are rarely swinging with Cold Eyes.
Yeah.
She's just out there to make everyone else big.
Just buff
I
the
guess.
team.
Yeah, pretty
Sort
much.
of the anthem effect of the deck.
Definitely. Some cards I didn't like. I am kind of cheating. I'm using two. Well, the same card, but that's fine. Guttural Response, which I've not seen this card elsewhere. I don't know if they made it just for this or not. I'm not
I
sure.
don't know.
It is a red-green hybrid mana for 1. It says counter target blue instant spell. So,
Which the implication is obviously you counter something big in the mind deck, which
Yeah.
most of the big threats are all blue. Things like the Unspeakable,
Right.
Deep Sea Kraken.
well, now it is instant spell, so it's not
Oh,
even.
I'm sorry.
It's not
It
even
is
blue
instant
spell.
spell. So yeah,
You can shake up that combo, but
Yeah, but it just
like-
that's worse than I thought. I thought it was
Yeah.
just blue spell.
If it was-
wow, that's really terrible.
Yeah, it's just not great.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you were to take it out of the dual decks and put it in a format, it would only be a metagame call and like
It'd be like a sideboard tech
yeah,
card.
if even. Anyway, enough of that card. I just don't like it. It could be another threat. It could be even a lightning bolt or something.
Yeah.
Deal 3 damage. Like that would feel so much better.
I
in
will
this.
say, outside of this, I think it could have playability in things that, because it's a counter spell in green or red, I think that's kind of cool. It gives you some playability against the control decks and more of an aggro deck.
I'll say not as much as other. I'll say it this way.
Yeah.
What I said before is this could be another threat. You're taking essence away from one of your deck's purposes
Okay.
to play this. So, like, it could be a burn spell. It could also be another fatty. It could be a bomb.
Yeah.
It could be another anthem effect. It could be so many other things.
It just doesn't seem to fill that slot
No.
for you.
And with
Okay.
with this deck and aggro decks in general, especially red-green decks,
Yeah.
I'm tapped out pretty much
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the time. So I'm not leaving up a mana,
That's true.
to hope that they cast a blue instant.
That's very true. Yeah.
And even if it is, blue instants aren't necessarily really strong. They're mostly card draw and stuff. Well, yeah. My next cards, Gorehorn Minotaurs.
And you have 2 of these out, Will.
Yeah, so I'm kind of cheating. They do get pretty strong with Cold Eyes on the field. I'll say that. If you play them with their Bloodthirst and with Lovisa out, they turn into 7/7s for 4,
Right.
which is a lot.
That's insane.
But that's a lot to have open to have
That's
done.
counting on a lot of things. And I think I when I played this deck, I actually had 1 or 2 of these in one of my games, and it just didn't do anything, right? Like you sort of leave it in your hand for a turn or two, hoping, okay, maybe I'll get that Bloodthirst, maybe I can get it through. But then it's sort of in a position where I was in, at least, which was not a great one. It just never happened. I didn't get any damage through, so it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And so I eventually just had to play it as a blocker.
Yeah,
Which just does not feel good.
I mean, they're circumstantial, and again, 7/7 is big, but you can bolt Cold Eyes, get her away, and now they're 5/5s, which is still good, not as good, but they don't have trample, so they just get chumped.
Yeah.
Yeah. If this deck had more trample in it, these would be much better, because you can deal that odd 1 damage or something and play them,
right?
Whereas you don't run into, all those tokens.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say. I'd probably give this deck 6 out of 10 if we were going that route, if we're rating stuff.
So still not terrible, but just not up there with the mind deck.
Yeah, I just don't think it has as many answers.
Okay.
This deck is really kind of like a play my hand and swing.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is an aggro deck, but without answers, good answers, not like guttural response. It's not great.
Does it feel great?
No.
Yeah.
It sure doesn't.
No,
More sweepers would be good too.
Yeah. Well, sweepers would be amazing, but I do agree with you. I think it's not up there with the Mind deck. I did like it when I played it.
Yeah, it's fun.
But it very quickly is either a hit or miss deck where, you know, you either get them sort of in the early game and can get ahead and stay ahead, or you sort of rumble around for a couple turns and then you just lose.
Yeah.
And it feels really bad.
Yeah.
So I will say overall, though, as a product, the Mind versus Might dual deck is great.
It's fun.
I would suggest it to, even if you are a more experienced player, this is kind of fun. Like, it's $20 to go out and get this. It's not like a huge investment. You do get a few, cool cards, speaking of tomorrow, things like that.
Yeah.
And it's actually just a fun time. Like,
It is
I really
pretty cool.
enjoyed the games. There were one or two in there where it just felt terrible.
Yeah, it just, games can get out of hand quickly for really either of the decks.
Yeah, exactly.
And you want kind of more of a fisticuff kind of duel. If you're going to name something a duel deck. This is not a critique necessarily, but it did feel like one deck just gets swamped and doesn't really put up a fight.
Right. I would agree. But overall, I would recommend it. Again, it's a fun time.
Yeah.
For $20, go for it.
I would say probably more for new players, you would say.
Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
much for everyone.
I think, it has its moments for the new players more often. That being said, Storm is a little bit more of a complicated mechanic.
I think it's good to learn.
It is a good way to learn this, though. I think this deck is it's simplified Storm. You're not trying to combo off turn 2 or 3 or something ridiculous. You're just trying to get a couple extra points out of an Empty the Warrens or something, right?
Which feels good.
It does feel good. The best play, although it didn't pay off as well as I'd hoped, I was clearly in a bad position. I was going to be losing. But I did have Mind's Desire and Quicken in my hand. So I waited until Will's turn. He played 2 cards.
Yep.
I got to Quicken and then Mind's Desire for 4, basically. So I got to play 4 cards for free off the top of my deck, hoping to get something like the Unspeakable, Deep Sea Kraken, something like that.
What were those 4 cards?
Well, 3 of them were lands.
Good. You need mana to cast stuff.
I honestly don't. Oh, and the 4th was Snap. I believe. I got to snap your Rubble Belt Raiders or something.
Right back to my hand.
And that was it. I lost the next turn. I mean, it was bad. But it did feel good to be able to just play the top 4 cards, right? Like, that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And Mind's Desire, for anybody who doesn't know, is one of my favorite Storm cards.
Yeah,
it's just
great.
fun. It's great in Cube, especially, I think. But
Cube. What
a good segue.
What a fun word. So with the dual decks out of the way, we had a second topic sort of to talk about today,
right?
Just for the casual fun day. And that was cube building tips, principles to keep in mind.
To cube building. This isn't going to be the end all be all of cube building, but it is just to give you some intro things to think about when you're building your first cube, or just building cubes in general, because it is an endeavor. There's a lot to it. I've built a number of cubes, generally legacy style cubes, which are great fun. I know, Will, you're talking about making a popper cube.
I am. That one's a little trickier, but
it is. Your card pool is a little rough sometimes.
Hey, who knows? It probably won't be singleton, but we'll see.
But cube is generally singleton for anybody who doesn't know.
Doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be. You can make it in any kind you want. Again, Will's putting together a popper one. I generally like to do legacy cubes because you get some very, very cool interactions. There's a modern cube that has been going, or that a few weeks ago, a couple months ago maybe, was going around MTGO. There's a lot of different variants, anything and everything you can think of. It's so much fun to cube. And I wanted, because it actually came up in a conversation recently that we might be rebuilding the legacy cube and playing it again. We thought we would just jump into some ideas and some tricks behind building it. And I think the thing you have to keep in mind from the start is you have to keep it balanced. Good. And what I mean by that is generally when you build a cube, you start off and you think, okay, I want these archetypes in my cube. Say Reanimator, say Storm, say just Ramp or something like that. You have all these sort of options. And you want to find cards that can sort of fit into as many of those options that you can get and that are well balanced. You don't want Reanimator having all of the black cards, right?
Sure.
You want some of those black cards to go to a control deck or to, a green black deck that's just sort of a mid-range deck. You want to have these cards as balanced as possible, and you want to have options in every color to keep it as balanced as you can. And I think it's really easy to fall into the trap, which I've done before. I know the first cube I built was definitely this way. I just picked the good cards, right?
I mean, yeah.
It's really easy to do that, where you just say, well, this card's good, I'll jam it, right? Well, that's fine and all, but you're restricting the playability of that card. And that's where that is really, what I'm talking about when I talk about balancing it out. For instance, if you're doing sort of a counter-based cube, right, where you want to put counters on a lot of things or something like that, maybe you get cards that, instead of, say, a Doomblade, you get a card that says destroy target creature and then proliferate, so you can gain some extra counters, things like that. Play to the strengths of the cube, make it well-balanced in every color and every archetype if you can. And it's not going to be perfect, right? Like, there's always going to be changes that are going to need to be made and things like that, but just do the best you can. That 100% from the beginning to the end of a cube is what you need to think about from just the start, I think. So.
Yeah. A really easy way to break that and mess it up is to think, all right, so green is going to be ramp and elves, because that's what green does best. So you put in 10 mana dorks and a bunch of elves that do elf things, and then you don't have green dropping fatties or anything like that.
Right.
You don't have green fetching lands. I don't know. Whatever else it could do. Sure, you want to put in those cards, like you said, that fit well to the color, to the card type, the archetypes. But if you restrict yourself in thinking, all right, this is what this color is for my cube.
Yeah.
Right. You're not playing to the strengths of the library of cards out there.
Absolutely. And you do have to think sort of outside the box a little bit in terms of, you can't just jam Doomblades, Hero's Downfall, something like that is just the only removal.
Right.
If black is the only thing with removal, that's a problem, right? Like, you have to give removal to other color. As an example, I'm just using removal, but you can't just give it all to black and then have none in any other color. Maybe put something like Beast Within.
Yeah, give that to green.
In green.
Path Swords to
Path
Plowshares.
to Exile. Yeah, I mean, there's so many options out there, and you need to give them to every color. Make sure every color has access to every card type, if possible.
If it feels like one color is the strongest in your cube, it might be worth taking out cards that do good things in that color and giving them to other ones, like Kevin said, with Beast Within.
To that point, ideally what you would want to do is, and maybe not downgrade the power of one color, but upgrade the color, or the power of the other colors, excuse me. That would be ideal, but if that's not in your budget, not within the cards that you have or the parameters that you're going for, then just downgrade that one a little bit. Yeah. Exactly like you said, there's nothing wrong with downgrading the power of a color if it keeps everything more fun. Yeah. And that's really the goal, is you just want it to be fun. You want people who sit down at your draft to say, I can draft any color. I'm not forced into a different color. I'm not forced into any archetype that I don't want to play. I can sort of pick what I want. And then obviously you do your normal draft thing. If it's not open, that's fine. But have everything available to everybody from the start and keep it balanced.
I would say so. Another point, pick cards to fit archetypes. Now, this is going to be kind of counterintuitive to what we just said, but taking Reanimator as an example. Reanimator is a style of deck, as I'm sure all of you know. Put something in the graveyard and then cheat it out kind of a little bit earlier than you could. Put it on the battlefield, like Gristlebrand on turn 3 or something, which is very possible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So you don't have to say that black has, like, only stuff to be reanimated. Like, it doesn't have to only be Gristlebrand or this horror or this whatever. But, you take 5 or 6 cards out of black and say, these are Reanimator cards if you want to play them.
Dedicated Reanimator.
Right.
Sure.
You could take that from blue as well. Blue could easily be in any cube the counter color.
Yeah.
You could easily say...
the control color.
Exactly. Like, you don't have to put in Inkwell. But if you do, I think blue is much better. You don't have to put in Tinker, but if you do...
yeah.
Show and tell. All those things. So you don't have to say, all right, it only counters. You could say, all right, 6 or 7 cards are going to be Mana Leak, are going to be Counterspell.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you touched on it already. The archetype is what that color is designed to do, but again, you do keep it balanced. But you sort of pick a number of slots that feels appropriate and say, okay, this, whether it's 6, whether it's 8, whether it's 10, that number of slots needs to be dedicated to that color's archetype.
Sure.
And to note, things like Reanimator, things like Control Decks aren't necessarily just one color. A lot of times something like Reanimator can be some like black-white because you get access to Unburial Rights. You also get stuff like Elish Norn, which is a great Reanimator target. And things like Control, you can go so many different routes, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you can just do the standard sort of blue-white Control, or you can do blue-white-red or Esper.
Yeah.
You can even do Bant Control. I mean, you can do tons of different things that don't, it keeps it open to other decks, right? Like if somebody on one end of the table is drafting, American Control, and you're on the other side doing maybe Esper Control, maybe your Esper deck has a little bit of a Reanimator theme to it, right?
Sure.
Like maybe your bombs are Reanimator bombs.
Yeah.
And then on the American Control side, they get some burn or something like that.
Lightning Helix.
That fits into, say, just a mono red deck, but it also fits into a control deck, and that's, again, balancing it out.
Right.
And picking cards that sort of work with all strategies.
Yeah.
And the last thing that I'd like to touch on, this is just something that I picked up actually from Tolarian Community College with the professor.
The professor. First name The.
First name The, last name Professor. He's a great guy. The channel is fantastic. His content's great. If you do not already know who he is, please go check him out.
You will grow and be a happy person.
He's just a fun guy.
That's true.
But he actually suggested this in a video that he did on cubing a while ago, and actually just thought it was a really great tip, and I've taken it to heart and used it in building some of my cubes, which is find heavily played cards.
That's good.
I know that sounds kind of weird, but like go to tcgplayer.com. You can sort by how well or how often it's heavily played versus near mint condition. That was the word I was thinking of. You can sort by condition.
Okay.
And you get cheaper cards if they're heavily played, naturally.
It's true.
So you can get more powerful cards for less money.
I see what you're saying.
As long as everybody knows what they do, it's still a readable card. You can still use it in any cube that you want. So it doesn't matter the condition of the card. I know a lot of people like to sort of go crazy, foil out a cube or do something like that.
That's fun, but
it is fun, and it's awesome if you can.
Yeah.
But that's such a time and money issue that like not everybody, not your everyday sort of casual player can afford that. But if you're looking for some, Jace the Mind Sculptor or something like that, that's an expensive card. But if it's a heavily played Jace the Mind Sculptor, it's still going to be a little pricey, but it's going to be a lot cheaper than it could be. And so you can get a card like that at a heavily played condition and still use it in your cube. And that's just a little tip if you're getting started in something like a legacy cube where you could potentially be spending quite a lot of money. I would suggest going to TCG Player, looking up some of the heavy played cards of, the cards that you're specifically looking for. You may be able to get them pretty cheap. You'd be really surprised on what you can find. You can also go to things like eBay and stuff, although that's less reliable. I would definitely stick with TCG Player, but just a good way to build up a cube and maybe get some of those powerful cards.
Sure. An added benefit to that I'll tack on, you get cards that are heavily played and are also probably popular cards like Jason the Mind Sculptor. Yeah. I think we all know what he does.
He wins the game, is essentially.
Besides that. But you get cards that people just already know, like Worm Coil Engine, also, for example.
Absolutely.
People like drafting that because, it's Worm Coil. Come on.
Well, it's a great card.
Exactly.
It's colorless. It goes in everything.
Goes in everything. You get cards that people know, people love. Yeah. I think that's a great tip.
Yeah,
I had not considered.
Just to get you started, I would definitely suggest that.
Sure.
You can also buy collections and just sort of hope to get some cool stuff. True. I think that's always fun, but that's just personal preference. I would definitely stick with just buying heavily played stuff.
That's probably wiser.
Yeah.
Pragmatic.
Yes, definitely.
So, with cubing out of the way, Kevin, we got one more little piece of business.
And that is what, Will?
We're gonna crack some packs.
Oh, yeah.
Crack
Here we go. All right, so as you guys know,
today is the day.
We're hoping to get our goal cards. We've been looking for the past few episodes. It's been a while.
My Minotaur.
I don't know who's going to get it first. What are you looking for, Will?
I'm looking for Neheb the Unworthy. I want to make Minotaur Tribal a thing.
It's going to happen.
It remains to be seen if it's going to happen. I am going to pull it this time, though.
Yeah, this is the one.
Trust me.
This is the one.
I got it. Kevin, what you looking for?
I'm looking for Aven Mind Sensor. Just a great reprint, in my opinion. It's used in Hate Bears and things like Modern and stuff. Yeah. I just like the card. It's not particularly valuable at this point. I think it's like $1 or $2 because of the reprint.
I'm surprised you haven't bought 40, Kevin.
Well, whatever. But I do like it quite a lot. And so I'm hoping to pull one.
Okay. Well, you want to go first?
I will.
All right.
I will.
All right. Show me that bird.
All right. Here we go. No. All right. But that not a terrible card.
That's not a bird.
So we got Rags to Riches, one of the new Aftermath cards. So Rags is 2 and 2 swamps. All creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. So pretty cool sweeper.
2 swamps?
What?
It's 2 black, dude.
That would be a swamp.
All right. Technically right.
You have to go to 2 areas, Louisiana, and some other place, find 2 swamps, and then just tap the entire geographical location. Then you can play this. All right. The riches side is 5 and 2 islands. It has Aftermath, so you have to cast it from your graveyard, but each opponent chooses a creature he or she controls. You gain control of those creatures. So I actually kind of like this card.
Yeah, I do too.
Esper or blue-black control deck. I actually like this quite a lot. The -2/-2 for 4 is a bit expensive.
Yeah.
But in a standard environment, I think that's not too bad.
Yeah. Sweepers are always going to be good. I think it's strong. The riches especially.
Yeah,
much more so.
Just getting to steal stuff is always great.
Yeah, that in Commander is going to be hot.
Yes, absolutely.
Each opponent, so you could get 3 fatties.
Yeah.
Or 3 1/1 tokens. I don't know. Whatever.
All right, Will. Do you get the Unworthy?
I am not worthy.
Oh, no.
Though I do sit upon a throne.
All right.
Throne of the God Pharaoh is my rare.
Oh, a cool card.
Yes, I've seen this come up in some drafts, and I really like it.
Yeah.
So it is an artifact for 2. Legendary artifact, let it be known. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the number of tapped creatures you control. So I instantly think of Exert as a mechanic in this. In Mono Red Exert, in Boros Exert, what have you, this is going to be really strong where you're...
It gets you an extra few points of damage.
Yeah, when you attempt to tap stuff. Attempt to tap? When your goal is to attack and swing with things, they're always going to get tapped. They're their strongest when they're doing that. Having more payoff for that mechanic is good.
I like that quite a lot.
Yes.
And it's sort of, I think it's worth noting too, in something like an Exert deck, where you don't necessarily get to untap with everything the next turn. It sort of gets you in that extra damage that you're missing out on.
That's true.
Which I think is really cool. Obviously, normally with an Exert deck, you're going to be adding on even more damage with the Exert triggers and things like that.
Right.
But this can finish out a game pretty quickly if you
kind of
use
adds
it correctly.
threat. Yeah.
So not a bad card. Not what you're looking for.
No, and probably not going to be more than like $1.50
no,
ever.
I don't think it'll be too much, but it is a cool card.
Yeah,
I like it.
I think it's neat.
I wish you could stack them, but it is legendary.
True.
So that is not the case.
Oh, if you could stack them, ooh, baby boy.
Yeah, then it'd be a little insane.
Right.
But with that, I think that will conclude our casual kitchen table format day.
Yeah. For Thursday, the 18th.
I don't know. I'm not about to say numbers. All right. I do think this has been a really cool episode. Again, I want to thank the Allison Warfield. I was trying to think of her handle.
Allison Warfield.
The Allison Warfield.
Yeah.
She really is being a huge help for us, and we hope that we can collaborate some more in the future.
Absolutely.
We do appreciate her.
100%.
Go check her out. With that, though, I think we're going to get out of here. My name is Kevin.
I am Will.
And this has been It Resolves.
Go tap some magic. Go play some cards. Have a great day.